UFC 288 from New Jersey. We had the main event, the fight in which this. Oh my God, Jonathan, are you okay? The fight in which this card was built around Aljamain Sterling, the champion, taking on Henry Cejudo, the challenger, for the bantamweight championship. Oh man. This actually, first off, I wanted to, because I just saw this. Apparently, it's our buddy's birthday today, guys. So I just want to give a shout out to JQ. Happy birthday, JQ. I just
Shout
saw
out
that
JQ.
on
Happy birthday, JQ.
on our Facebook. So just shout out JQ, and we're trying to get him on. We're possibly going to have him on maybe this upcoming week, Thursday's episode. We still have to talk to him about it, but JQ will be on very soon, back with us. But back to UFC 288. The main event, Cejudo and Aljo. Listen, I got that nervous feeling in my stomach, the butterflies in my stomach before the fight, and I tweeted out before that. It's that nervous feeling. It's I can't explain it. It's hard to explain. And even Joe Rogan, John Anik, and DC we're talking about it right before the fight, where they're like, it's the best feeling in sports. There's nothing more like it than that nervous feeling before a big time fight. So how do I want to attack this, right? So basically, right off the gate, I disagreed with the final judging of this fight. I'm not going to call it a robbery because I think that word is thrown around way too much in the mixed martial arts community. I'm not going to call it. It was a very, very close fight. It was a split decision for a reason. But I'll go through it with you. Round one, I thought Henry won the first portion of that round. It started off, they started feeling each other out. Aljo was kind of taking the center of the octagon, pressuring Henry, and I didn't like that a lot. I thought Henry, when he was going forward, and he did this later on in the fight, throughout the fight, actually, I should say, he was the one who was pressuring Aljo. But he was able to get an early takedown, not controlled for very long, but had control. The takedown he got was a beautiful takedown. It was just, Olympic gold medal type shit. But the second half of that round, Henry kind of took his foot off the gas, and Aljo won the second half of that round, especially with able to get a takedown and almost get the back, basically, which is where Aljo shines brightest. I thought it was a close-ass round. I really didn't know who to give it to, but in retro, I gave that one to Aljo just because towards the Henry didn't do. I thought Aljo kind of won the first minute of that round. Then Henry kind of took a little bit of that. And then Aljo won the end portion of that round. So I gave that one to Aljo. Round two, Cejudo really showed me that he was the better striker than Aljamain Sterling, in my opinion. And I know, throughout the fight, when they were going back to their corners, Aljo's side was saying, listen, this guy's just throwing winging shots. You're better than him. You're hitting him better than I didn't see that. I honestly did not see. I saw Henry being able to find the spots, hit harder, land the bigger shots, to be honest with you, more precise. I know Henry's face had more damage than Aljo's, but listen, some people wear damage more than others. Nate Diaz is one of the toughest MFers in the game. He gets cut up like crazy because it's just your skin tissue after years. It can. Everybody's skin is different. So Aljo might have tougher skin than Henry. And just because, it's messed up, it doesn't mean that Henry wasn't landing the harder shots or the better shots, in my opinion. He landed two nice high kicks that got Aljo's attention in that round. But I will say this, and maybe this is where they were seeing that he was winging shots. Henry was having trouble with the reach and the size of Aljo. He was. Especially when they got into the clinch and Aljo. I think the main point of why Aljo was able to get those takedowns, he wasn't able to secure him for very long. Henry was able to get back up pretty quickly. But Henry, being a kind of pure 125er, being 5'4", having a 64-inch reach, I believe, to Aljo's, I think Aljo's 5'7". He cuts from like 155, which is crazy. And he's got a 71-inch reach. Henry was having a little bit of trouble with that size and reach. He was trying to find the spots, and he was at times. It's just, certain times in the fight, he just couldn't find his path. And I do want to – I usually don't say this about the commentary, but it seemed like they they went so much into recency bias. And what I mean by that is if Aljo was kind of doing something towards the end of the round or doing something right in front of them at the time, they would kind of basically ignore what happened before that. And even Joe Rogan spoke to it. He says, I usually favor the guy who's on top or winning towards the end of the round. And that is the literal definition of recency bias, because it's not about just the end of the round. It's the entirety of the round you have to score. I just wanted to talk about that. But I thought Henry landed the bigger shots and won the majority of round 2. Going into round 3, again, I thought Henry won the majority of the striking exchanges. I thought getting the takedown at the end was major, and I thought that secured round 3 for him. Aljo had a moment in the middle of the round where he was able to get a takedown, not for very long, and Henry was able to get back up. I don't think that did enough for him to win the round 3 to me. I thought Henry again once again showed he was the better striker. He was landing bigger shots, the cleaner shots in my opinion. And then moving on to round 4 and 5 were, to me, the clearest rounds for who you wanted to score to. Round 4 for me was clearly Aljo's round. Henry pressured him. He controlled the center of the octagon, but he wasn't throwing. He wasn't active enough. Aljo, while being on his back foot, was more active this round than Henry. So I clearly gave this round to Aljo. So I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round. This is how I had the fight scored. And then the 5th round, to me, was very clearly Henry Cejudo's best round. Just like round 4 was clearly Aljo's best round, round 5 was clearly Henry Cejudo's best round. I thought he showed the fighting spirit of a champion and what a champion does, and that show up in the championship rounds. I know round 4 is the championship round. He didn't show up, but round 5, that penultimate round, 2-2 going into the 5th, showing up, landing the bigger shots, pressuring, chasing. I thought Henry showed the fighting spirit of that, and I thought he won round 5, and I thought they gave him the edge, winning 3 rounds to 2, and he should have got the nod at the end. That's not what happened. I just want to pull up this real quick, the scorecards for last night, because this is what's, where do I have it? Oh, it's on my iPad. This is what was crazy to me. I didn't know this until listening to the post-fight press conference early this morning, which I had barely any sleep because of a late night, but that's neither here nor there. So the first judge, Michael Bell, scored the contest 48-47 for Henry. He had Henry winning 2, 3, and 5, like me. Then you had Eric Colon scoring the contest for Aljo. Aljo winning 1, 2, and 4. Then Derek Clearly. This one shocked me when I heard this. He had Aljo winning the fight. He had Aljo winning 1 and 4. Fine, that's how I scored it. But he had Aljo winning round 5, which to me was, I don't know what you were watching. If you go back and watch round 5, Henry pretty much, maybe a couple exchanges here and there, I won't say dominated because that's too strong of a word, but basically controlled that round and won the majority of that round. So Derek Clearly, in my opinion, scoring that round 5 for Aljo, that screwed Henry Cejudo out of a championship. Now, I'm not calling it a robbery. I'm calling that decision right there in round 5, that fucked Henry Cejudo. That screwed him. Because the round that everybody basically, I think you can watch the fight and see, score round 5 for Henry. And you're the only guy, the only jabroni out there that scored it for Aljo. You screwed Henry Cejudo out of 3+ year layoff, fighting the champion, 36 years old, back against the wall because of that record that I told you out there, 2-28. You screwed him. You did. And apparently this was brought up. He's the same judge that scored another a split decision loss for Henry early in his career, Joseph Benavidez, for Benavidez. That's 2 times. I'm not going to call, maybe this guy's got some, but I'm just saying listen, these judges hold, when it goes to decision, these judges hold a lot of these guys' career in the palm of their hands. And they have to be certain. And I don't think you can certainly say round 5 was scored for Aljamain Sterling. And this is why I've always wanted referees should be able to speak up for their scorecards. They should have to go up at the post-fight press conference and speak to the media.
Like an NBA official.
Yes, and handle the judges.
Because an NBA official, like when an NBA official is making a challenge review, they'll actually speak to the booth, the broadcasters, and you'll hear on television the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
But it feels like for Derek clearly, he may not be seeing clearly, but also at the same time, there's not much accountability for how much responsibility the judges have.
No accountability because they're able to score the card and then walk out of the venue like nothing happened. And I'm not saying, they have to speak to the crowd and people right then and there. I'm taking post-fight press conference like the fighters do, and Dana White goes up there and speaks and handles the fire, the heat. They should go up there because you hold these fighters' careers in the palm of your hands when it goes to decision. And your decision scoring round 5, which was clearly for Henry Cejudo, for giving it to Aljo, that screwed Henry Cejudo out of history-making shit. You lost him a fight with Sugar Sean O'Malley, which might be his biggest payday of his career. And then you lost him out if he got through Sugar, which a lot of people probably would have favored him against because Sugar's wrestling is a little bit suspect. Screwing him out of history-making, going up to 145, becoming the first ever guy to win 3 division weight champions in MMA history. So accountability needs to be taken into this case. I don't see how you score round 5 for Aljamain Sterling. I really don't see it. I don't want to call it a robbery. The entire fight wasn't a robbery. It was a very close fight. I'm saying that, but round 5 being scored for Aljo, that screwed Henry Cejudo.
One thing I want to ask you, Brandon, you talked before about how Aljo had a 7-inch reach advantage. Was it almost like Henry couldn't be more aggressive because of that extra fly zone that Aljo had? Or no, he could have just been more aggressive, and given he was coming off a 3-year layoff, it was a great performance by him, truly, and I was blown away with how good of a fight it was, but it wasn't enough, quite frankly, given his aggression toward the end.
Yeah, round 1, he spoke about this. Round 1, he thought he could have been more aggressive in the second half of that round. He kind of let Aljo get away from that, and that could have been major because round 1 was scored all the way through for Aljamain Sterling. So if he was able to have, not took his foot off the gas, we're having a different discussion because he wins round 4. Excuse me. It's tough when you're going up against a guy with a longer reach. You have to be more careful. But what also does play into the shorter reaches guys' advantage is when you do get close. When you get super close, your punches are much more, able to land. While the guy with the longer reach, the punches are going to go around you.
Quicker with it.
Even if they do land, the power's not really going to be there because they've got no space to throw. And it's all about getting inside. When you have the shorter reach, you have to get inside. And that's what he was having trouble getting inside at times. He was able to land some really nice shots, but it's just at times he was having a little bit of trouble. And yes, 3-year layoff probably played a factor into that. If he was more active, maybe this fight isn't 3-2. Maybe it's 4-1 for Henry. Maybe he doesn't put his foot. Maybe he does put his foot on the gas in round 1 and doesn't let that get away. So yeah, I hope Henry does stick around because I think the sport is better when Henry Cejudo's around, and I think he still has it.